Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our presentation. First of all, I would like to thank Doc Heide Fabe for giving this opportunity. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our group members, Limuel Kadungon, Evangeline Canoy, Sedi Carta, and yours truly, Valentina Calambas. And we are the Group 3. As you can see on the screen, our topic is about in the environmental ethics and social justice. And now, I will give the floor to our first reporter. We will be discussing about the ethical dilemma in environmental management.
Good day, everyone, especially Doc Heidi. Good day. And classmates, good day. I am Evangeline Canoy, and I will be the first reporter to discuss the environmental ethics and the ethical dilemma in environmental management. What are environmental ethics? Environmental ethics is philosophical discipline focused on the moral principles guiding human interactions with nature and the environment, exploring responsible stewardship, preservation, and the intrinsic value of ecosystems and living beings. Environmental ethics perceives human as an integral part of a larger society comprising other living creatures, including the plants and animals. This field acknowledges the interconnectedness between all life forms and emphasizes our human role to ensure the well-being of all other members of the bigger society. Environmental ethics is a philosophical discipline that guides us on how to properly interact with nature and the environment. Environmental ethics reminds us that dili nato sayangan i-neglect or pasagdaan ang atong nature, but instead i-value nato siya. Then we can explore responsible stewardship, like is dapat mo take ta og action. We can voluntarily protect our ecosystems, mag-replanting ta og kahoy, and then i-reduce nato ang mga harmful activities nga maka-affect sa atong surroundings. Then mag-community garden ta para pod ma-encourage ang mga citizens. It's a subcategory of ethics about how humans value and relate to the environment, including the non-human species that live there. While environmental ethics as an academic field emerged after the Industrial Revolution began to negatively impact the environment through the improper use of the natural resources, humans have been thinking about their relationships with nature even before agriculture was developed. So, ang environmental ethic is ang atoang attitude when it comes to environment. The way we taking care of it o generate ang atoang self on environment's nature. Include the non-human species that live there, such as animals. It is also says na ang environmental ethics is nag-start siya after na realize sa mga tao na ang industry like factories is naa siya negative effects sa environment, and pati na sad sapagkat og mga kahoy para lang mag-build og infrastructures. And so that is why experts created this environmental ethics. And now let's move to the next slide. There are two viewpoints in environmental ethics. First is the anthropocentric ethics. It is believed that human interest should be considered before the natural interest. Anthropocentric ethics, it refers to people na mas ginapalagahan nila ang ilang personal interest is a natural interest, which is the environment. Like example, in urban architecture, sige build og buildings without concerning to the surroundings. Kaya ang building manggod is ga-create and ga-release og carbon dioxide from the appliances, and also the using of fossil fuels that are used in offices. Also, as we Observe, more buildings, less trees, so init and polluted ang atong atmosphere. The second viewpoint in environmental ethics is the ecocentric ethics. It finds intrinsic value in nature's existence and believes that destroying it is wrong, even though it is non-human. The ecocentric, it refers to people na mas ginavali nila ang environment just to prevent the environmental issues and para ma-preserve ang biodiversity. Ang kalahian lang nilang duha sa anthropocentric ethic is ang mindset sa tao is kanang mas ginavalue nila ang personal benefits without concerning na affected ang mga non-human creatures. And now let's move forward to the next topic, which is why our environmental ethics is important. Environmental ethics are imperative to the survival of humanity because without these important discussions and proper use of both renewable and non-renewable resources, the world inherited by future generations will not be inhabitable. And also, without environmental ethics, the earth might not be inhabitable for human life. Ang environmental ethics na is very important. Important yun siya for us to survive if wala tayo ethics and ang proper nga pag-use sa renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Ang atong biodiversity is dili siya ma-sustain, ma-maintain, ma-preserve para sa sunod na generation. And kung wala tayo maayong pamatasan sa atong environment, ang earth is dili guro siya mapuy-an. Imagine, without trees, then ang hangin is very polluted. Then ang katubigan is also polluted. Dili pud magdugay ang mga tao and animals as well. Because very risky siya sa atong health and affected ang habitat sa mga animals. Ethical systems focus on immediate responsibilities, but the global environmental issues pose serious ethical challenges due to the technical power of humans now have to affect the non-humans.
Have a good day, everyone. And this time we will continue to the topic environmental ethics. So it is a human values inherently shape environmental ethics and how we perceived it. So environmental ethics has a great relationship to people who is the very host to perform these environmental ethics, and that this environmental ethics will benefit all the people when it is performed, read, obeyed, and did by those people who gives time to this environmental ethics. So values are how each individual thinks and believes, shaping their actions. So this environmental ethics, it gives knowledge to people and how they should value environment and how they should obey and think towards environment by following the ethics that is for environmental benefits and shaping their actions, and that everything that they are going to do and everything that they're going to uh, perform should be aligned in the environmental ethics. So environmentalism has become a charged political issue. So of course, environment has a greatly uh, involved in those political system, because it is usually used by those political people in the government as it is as the catalyst to perform their duty to make a great deal to protect the environment and make it their very propaganda to advance in the politics. So as is common in ethical debates, most people fall on the spectrum of thought. It is clearly wrong for a child to starve to death if naturally occurring groundnuts are available for that child to eat. So it is very important also to imagine that this environmental ethics is, and those environmentalism are often used by those people who are advanced in rank in the government, as they are going to make a debate, an argument that it is the very good idea to have an environmental uh, ethics, so that it could be seen as the advantage for them to become the people who are really caring for the environment, and that it will give them a very good idea for people to trust them. So ethical systems focus on immediate responsibilities. So when there are systems, there are also processes, and um, they're going to have those timeline as their responsibility to do what are ethical in the environment. But global environmental issues pose serious ethical challenge due to the technical power humans now have to affect non-humans. So because there are a lot of high technology in our uh, country or in other country, it really impacts how our globalization happens, and that now humans should have to do an extra mile to protect the environment by using the technology as the very reason to maximize the protection for the environment.
Now, for my continuation, environmental ethics, along with human values, make for challenging philosophical debates about man's interaction with the environmental. For example, for the first bullet, is it acceptable for poor farmers in undeveloped countries to cut down forests just to make room for farmland, even if this action harms the environment? This man's interaction with the environment is serious and an easy decision. It tells na dapat naputlon ang mga kahoy sa forest para lang taman og crops or foods. And if we do that, no mag-expect na lang jud ta og kanang naay disaster sa environment. And if dili pud nato siya buhaton, magkulang og food supply ang ato ang market, so affected Japan ang mga human beings. The second bullet is it morally wrong for humans to continue to burn fossil fuels, knowing that this action leads to air pollution and global climate change? For the continuation of the report, the third and fourth bullet will be discussed by my co-reporter.
To the next topic, we have here the third uh, sub topic, or in the third bullet, is it ethically permissible for man to build a hydroelectric dam, knowing that this will disrupt the migration pattern of certain fish, leading to their extinction? So here we're going to have a dilemma or a scenario where we're going to think more critically when it comes to environment. So the question is that, is it ethical, or if we're going to permit a man to build hydroelectric a dam, even though it will cause a lead to the extinction of fish, the question is it ethical? So of course, here now there are a lot of benefits when there is an hydroelectric dam, because it will create more electricity and more power generation. But how about fish? So these are the environmental effects. Is there uh, advantage and the advantages of the extinction of those uh, power plants that could cause environmental issues and an environmental disaster to the other ex- extinct animals. So the last question is, does a mining company have a moral obligation to restore the natural environment destroyed by their mining techniques? So of course, these are the very questions na gagamitin if these mining company should have to be involved, or should be uh, exist if they will cause a more disastrous disadvantages or effects of their actions. So, is it really important to have a mining company if their disadvantage is that it will cause them a more disaster to the next generation? So it will really have mind-blowing answers for mining manufacturers and mining company to exist. And that's all for my video. Thank you.
Now I will be discussing the environmental dilemma. The first dilemma is increased life expectancy. This is the biggest dilemma because dako og effect ang population sa atong environment. The more the population, the more na madaot ang atong ecosystem. In history, way back years, dili kay daghan ang mga tao because wala pa nag-evolve ang atong technology. That time, many people, especially children, died because of the disease or starvation and their parents killing them before they grow up. Then, karon is advanced naman ang technology. Ang mga tao is dili na sila mamatay tungod sa starvation. And then, dagan na sad ang na-discover na medicine to eliminate the diseases. And so, mao na silang reason nga nag-expand ang population. So, what do we do? Pasagdaan ba ang poor countries mamatay sa gutom para lang malimit ang environmental damage? Even dili na siya tama na solution. The ultimate solution of our government is to make sure na masan pag overpopulated ta, wala lang dyan mamatay. The second environmental dilemma is development versus degradation. Development versus degradation. People, especially in the developing world, need more money. They can only get more money by development. That basically means they need to take what they have and build things with it. Ang example ano is para ma-develop ang isa ka developing countries is magputol og kahoy sa forest para tamnan og crops then inegosyo to make money. So, should these people from poor country forced to live in poverty forever to avoid the environmental problems, or ang people from developed countries like America is mag-donate sila og money para lang ang people from developing countries stop nila ang pagkat sa kahoy. The third dilemma is the GM food or genetically modified foods. These are basically plants and animals that have genes from species spliced into them to make them grow better. So, tomatoes might have genes from a farm Arctic fish spliced in so they don't freeze in cold nights. Or a cotton might have a gene from a bacterium spliced in so that the cotton plant produces poison that kills any insect from eating it. Using this technology is great because it means that we don't have to use chemicals just to kill insects. We don't need to use as much fertilizer, which washes off the poisons, rivers, and we can grow more foods on less land. So, we don't need to cut down trees from forests just to make cropland. So, that is great for the environment. But, unfortunately, these plants can produce seeds and they can spread. If no animal in the world can eat our poison cotton plant, what will stop taking over the world and making a lot of other plants and animals extinct? So, should we use these foods because we know they are good for the environment now? Or should we refuse to use them because they could cause environmental problems? The fourth environmental dilemma is the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy, clean, cheap, almost no greenhouse gas emissions, little environmental damage for mines. But ang potential major problems niya if ang kanaganing material is dili siya mas stored properly kay ang materials magud aning nuclear energy is dapat mas stored siya for thousands of years. So mugamit magyapon tag nuclear power to combat the environmental problems caused by global warming, or ipabahala nato siya sa future generations. Ang future generations na ang magkuan ani nga solutions. Or do we leave them the problems of atmospheric pollution caused by fossil fuels? And that makes it environmental dilemma. I guess that's the end of my discussion. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. Magpadayon ta. So this is me, Limanin Kadongon, your reporter for social justice, and ethical justice, and equity topic. So let's define first what is social justice and ethical justice and equity. So social justice is justice in relation to a fair balance in the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and privileges within a society where individuals' rights are recognized and protected. So in environmental management, the idea of social justice is possibly to reframe the way people think about environmental issues and solutions. So social justice is very important in the environmental management because when we manage well, so the environmental management, we're looking forward to the benefit of the society. So we're looking both to the justice made in environment and justice for people, which will benefit the environment. So social justice and environmental management is very important because we're looking in the both the benefits and the disadvantages and advantages of managing the environmental management or managing the environment. So it is very important because we will have an idea what to do or what people will benefit this environmental management. So in the Congress, this is the highest priority to enactment of the measures that protect and enhance the right of all the people to human dignity, reduce social, economic, and political inequalities, and remove cultural inequalities by equitably diffusing wealth and political power for the common good. No, therefore, sa social justice and environmental management, ato ang makita nga fair o balance ang pagtrato sa environment and dili lang isa ka side ang maka-benefits sa mga produced products na makuha sa environment such as the agriculture, the aquatic and fisheries or the natural resources na itong makuha sa environment. So social justice, there are kung unsa tong madawat sa mga dato, mo pud ang madawat sa mga dili kayo dato. So it is one of the there are one of the most prominent theories of social justice, no, si John Rawls, who aimed to reconcile notions of freedom and equality in his work. So dili pa lang makita na jud nato na social justice is important because each person should have an equal right to fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties which is compatible with a similar scheme of liberties for all, especially sa environmental management. Second, what is ethical justice? So ethical justice deals and rooted with moral choices through a measures of rights of the people involved and chooses the solution that seems to damage the fewest people. So of course, ang action sa isa ka tawo nga gihimo sa usa ka environment must be justifiable pod sa uban ng mga tao na kung unsa tong gihimo niya, no, because every action sa isa ka tao when it comes sa environment or the way sa pagmanage niya sa environment is makaapekto sa ubang tao, no, there must be an ethical justice para makita kung ang ihabang actions na gihimo is maka-benefits sa next generation or sa next mga tao na mo himo or maka-benefits sa environment. So of course, ethical justice is applied mostly in democracy, or therefore in our country, we are in a democratic country. It is most important na all the people of the Philippines must be ethical and must have an ethical justice para makahatag pud sila og maayo nga solusyon sa environment, maayo nga contribution sa environment, and it is rooted in a respect for the legal system. Of course, there are a lot of ethical justice no na makita na to sa constitution. So for example, it is the principle no ethical justice is the principle that requires people to be treated fairly and equitably. So this includes both the distribution of benefits, no, especially gikan sa environmental management, and burdens on the recognition of people's rights and responsibilities na ilahang nahimo or ilahang paghimuon pa lang sa environment. So it is very important na there must be an ethical justice sa environment atong ginahimo, because we must be ethical when we are going to have an implementation of policies, of laws when it comes to environment. And next is the equity. So equity, it is one of the most makita jud nato siya sa atong palibot. So defining equity is everyone gets the same experience. So it refers to the impact the decisions you make have on your staff or your aid audience. So diri makita nato sa litrato no na ang equality ug equity is na ikalayan jud. Ang equality is when you're going to give them the same portion or the same level with the different person. So for example, na lolo, papa ug anak with different heights, and then we're going to give them at the same level or height of chair para nga sila makaboton. So makita na nga equal distribution no sa mama ay sa papa, sa lolo ug sa apo. But sa equity no ginahatagan siya justice, because kung unsa to ang height sa isa ka tawo, kung pila to kinahanglan niya para maabot to ang katong isa ka object is, or isa ka, for example, isa na lang ka goal, din makita na to mas hatagan to siya og mas higher, mas stronger na lingkuranan or ladder inanagod para makabot niya iyang goal. So for example, kay ang lolo is dagan naman siya na obtain sa life, so mas gamay na lang ang gihatag na ladder para siya to obtain such a thing. So sa father, mas dako siya no, kay mas gamay pa ang iyang knowledge compare sa iyang lolo. So gina-divert lang nako ang example. So sa iyang anak no, we must give a more priority sa mga kabataan karon, because they will be the one na maka-benefits aning na environment. So the same thing po sa environment no, mas ginahatagan nato og priority ang environment which gives an impact that is more convenient sa mga tao. So these are the following situations where equity is being applied. For example, number 1, equity in our values. So makita nato ang matag usa is na values na ay kinaiyang mga beliefs or ginatuuhan. So of course, we must give them treated, or we must ipalayo na to itong ethnocentrism no, para lang makasabay ta sila So na equity because no, mas ginahatagan nato sila og priority para makasabay ta sa ilang values, or for them na maka-understand sa toa. And the equity in the code provisions of conduct. So kinipod no, there must be an equity in the code provisions of conduct. So there are a lot of provisions of conduct no, na coded, which is kita is dapat makasabot, kita dapat makahibaluan ng mga topic. So for example no, sa kada iya ng mga lugar lahi man jud og culture ang mga tao no, lahi man sila pamaagi sa pagmanage sa silang environment. Sa Manila lahi, sa Davao lahi, sa Digos lahi pod, because they are more populated there. So naay mga kada-iya pod na mga code provisions of conduct. So mas ginatagan og priority ang Manila, because their environment there is very polluted, their water there is not so very clean, and so mas gina-adjust sila. So, and many more in the equity in the code provisions of conduct. So, equity employment policy is makita pod nato ni siya when it comes to employment policy. So, na ang babae na ang lalaki, kung mas kinahanglan ang babae sa kanang trabaho, no, mas ginahatagan siya ug dagan, mas dagan ang mga babae na nanarbaho dira. The same pod sa mga lalaki, no, kung unsa mga kinahanglan dira. and 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 the same thing sa environmental management, no, kung kinsa itong mga HOD, no, sa pag-manage ana, sila ang mas ginahatagan og nindot nga trabahon, and obligation and equity and the golden rule, because kita nagkatuota sa golden rule na kung unsa tong mga prinsipyo na imuang gusto i-treat sa imuha, sumuo pud siya ng mga principles na gusto nimo dapat nimo ipakita sila. The same thing pod sa environmental management, no, na kung dili ta gusto na maapil-apil ta sa mga baha, bagyo, dili baha na mga landslide, so we must do protect, we must do observe the principles for the environmental management. We must give prior presence to environmental policies and regulations para sa ato ang tanan. So, we must respect our environment, and we must have a good management when it comes to environment for us to be given by the nature a good produce of rice, corn, and of clean air, and a good water, and so many more. And that's all for my topic, and thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for the understanding, and God bless, and keep our environment healthy, abundant, and glorious. Thank you.